Okay, we can start. So our discussion is in English, as you know, because we hope to reach some audience of UKU friends in the United States, for instance, so that they maybe know a bit more about Ukrainian business, its history, its perspectives, and so on. So welcome everybody. Thank you for choosing our discussion in favor of sunny day, you know, somewhere in Strysky Park, close to UKU campus. I really hope, you know, we will have a very fruitful and interesting discussion tonight. My name is Roxolana Voronovska. I'm CEO of LvBS Consulting, and I will be facilitating today's meeting with my fantastic guests, who I'm going to introduce to you right now. Іван Петренко, CEO of the Entrepreneurship Center of UKU. Ivan has a significant experience in, let's call it, you know, traditional business or real business. And now he is with his team developing the startup ecosystem in this university and in the whole country. I'm sure, Ivana, your views, you know, on business from different perspectives will be very interesting to our guests. I'll, you know, go like that. Now I'll move to, applauses to Ivan. We are, you know, very honored to have Alexei Skripnik with us, who is founder of Alex, Ukrainian IT company, with exactly 30 years of history. Yes, so it's, you know, I'm sure Alexei's experience would be extremely relevant for today's discussion, for its topic. In these years, Alex raised few generations of top IT professionals and survived a number of crises. Also today, we received a fresh issue of Forbes Ukraine, and Alexei's interview was there, so I recommend you all to read it. Also, we will. I was inspired, you know, to a few questions to Alexei thanks to this interview. Sofia Vishnevska, co-founder and CEO in Property Time, Ukrainian startup working globally, especially now focused on the US market. And today we have a very special panel, as Sofia was also named in Forbes among successful women in IT. Welcome, Sofia. And Sofia Opatska, founding dean and vice rector of strategic development of UKU. As you know, UKU was named among 30 most successful projects in Ukraine in these last 30 years of independence. And it also occurred due to a great collaboration of the university and business. So Sofia is very aware, very much involved in this. And as a founding dean of Lviv Business School and working, having also some experience with other business schools, Sofia, you know, observed, let's say, Ukrainian business for the last 20 years or so. And so she will share with us her observations and her, you know, feeling of how everything changed, if any. So I have a first question to all of the speakers, maybe except Sofia, because she, you know, my first question is, what are the main lessons your companies learned in these 30 years? And we found out that probably Sofia was just learning to walk 30 years ago. So I'll come back to you a bit later. Maybe we can start with Alexei, as, you know, 30 years ago he was founding the company already.
Hello, everybody. Oh, you know, at that time I was not thinking absolutely about the business. At the beginning of Ukrainian independence, I was thinking more about survival, honestly. You know, just, of course I can tell you like some a nice story which will be far away from the real. But I have a bad habit after the visiting of the Dnipro hospital and seeing the Ukrainian boys without legs and hands, so I decided so that I will not, how to say, to make the pictures better than there was or they are. So at that time we were with my father thinking more about the creation of small software for the controlling of power grids. We were expected to finish the project in 2 years. Honestly, it took us 7 to do this. So later, this was the good lesson to start project management lessons to understand. The company we started with a very simple reason, because there was a special cooperatives which was taking like 60% of our money, and we decided it's too much, so we wanted to have less to spend, so that's why we created the company. This was the only one reason. And for a long period, we just was small scientific boutique. Also, I was expected to, one small fact, I was expected for the money receiving from the project, I will be able to buy a flat, because there was no market for the flats, houses like we have now. Everything was just sold by the government or by big companies, or just resold by people. After the finishing, the inflation was so big that for money I received for the project, I was able to buy the door to non-existing flat. This is just like one interesting lesson from this time. Another interesting lesson that at that time money in Ukraine, not in the whole world, was only in the hands of former KGB, communist. There was also a special kind of communist who in one day became greatly nationalist, with Vyshivanka, with all singing songs. We found that they just like interesting period, that there was like a hidden nationalist in the Communist Party who were destroying the party from inside. That's why it's destroyed so quickly. And one of my first lessons in Ukrainian business, we worked with a company who were not expected. So it was typical that at that time customers were not paying you money absolutely. In 1998 we were nominated as the best software company in Ukraine, and we have 0 financial budget. So if divide 1 to 1, it's just like it will be infinite. So, but why? Because most of customers say, you know, it's crisis, we'll not pay you money. And with one customer, they have to pay us. We already finished everything. We know that they have money, so we put a small on the screen, small dialogue window with the notice: please pay Alex money. And I received the call at night, as far as I remember, and the guy with absolutely KGB voice said, "Alex, you have kids?" I say, "Yes. If you want your kids to go to the school, please take off this dialogue box from the screen." So we, and for understanding, the sum for this time, it was very big. It was $2,000. So, and I still remembering the strategy which I wrote in 1999. And in this strategy, there was a dream to have to the people who work at Alex the salary for $50. So it was dream. It was not reality. So, you know, you usually liking writing in strategy something which you are dreaming. It's just like for the picture, what was the picture of the business. From the other side, there was just like an interesting game. When your business was something interesting, one day the bandits were coming and say, "Hey, we wanted to create a roof for you, krysha." For those who, and next day the SBU were coming. "Hey guys, we wanted to be the roof for you." And I was like playing games. "Hey, we already agreed with the bandits. Sorry, you are late." And for the KGB, "Okay, hey guys, we already have a roof from the bandits." So, you know, it was just like a game for a long period. Later, when we became big, 2 policemen came to the, not policemen, militia, it was still not police. And in my lectures about the manipulation, telling that this game about bad cop and good cop is very interesting, and just like, but it's like existing for all living of the mankind. So two policemen staying, and one is talking and another is silent. And one saying, you know, there was the Austrian businessman, he invested 5 million euros in Ukrainian business, bought the plant, and he's thinking that it is his plant. But we explained him that it is not his plant. And another is silent, so you're not understanding this, who is silent, he is good or bad. You know, because in some cases you're thinking that he is good, but later you find that he is not very good. So and in a few minutes, this guy who was silent saying, you know, we know that you are a very honest businessman, that everything okay, excuse us, but our big boss forced us to go to the business. We need to buy the sofa. And we need money for the sofa for his office. So sorry, maybe it's a little bit long story. It's just like for your, because now it's absolutely, we have another environment. The same environment was in 2013 when the young Yanukovych decided that there is something like IT business which is under no control of their family. And this was the last story when we were thinking that during to the Maidan of Dignity, the internet will be switched off. And the last things which we were doing, we were creating the special optic fiber connection between our office and the customs in the Poland border to have the internet which will be under control and which we cannot be switched off. So this was just like last adventure from such, how to say, I don't know what, funny time, hard time, you know, because when I'm telling now stories, it's looking like a very funny. But at that time, it was more crying stories. It was just like very dangerous stories. And I still remembering the gathering of all IT people from Lviv. So even we were not understanding what will be in the stupid head of Yanukovych, what he'll decision, and we were thinking what we have to do together. So after this, in my opinion, the country changed greatly. So in my list of, I'm saying that our independence started with the revolution of dignity. For me, honestly, this is for me starting point of Ukrainian independence. And now I can say that the picture which we have in the business is absolutely another. It's so different that you cannot imagine. So it just, of course, we still have tax office, which is still, how to say, a little bit far away from what we expected to see from the taxation. Why I'm saying this, because we were discussing this with my older son, who has his own company, and I found that their habits in tax office remain the same. Even the questions which they're asking is the same. And as my son is stupid and I'm stupid, we were asking him the same question. Imagine you're coming, you open the door, you're not understanding what is happening, and lady or man asking you, you have only 2, but you have only 4. But you must have 4. And you're like looking, what are you talking about? What is interesting? Absolutely 100% the same story from me, like in 2005, and Anton in 2015. So in this office near you, in this big white building, nothing changing. But we suppose that maybe it's just like the last element of corruption and old Soviet approaches in taking the business as maybe the right word is cow, korova? Cow, sorry. Just to have a milk, but sometimes they wanted to kill because not enough milk, but easier to kill. So just sorry about such maybe not positive introduction about what was the Ukrainian business at the beginning.
we will talk about future. I hope we will see more positive insights there. Sophia, please, your view on how, you know, everything changed and what were the main lessons Ukrainian business learned.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's a great pleasure to be part of this panel, and I would like to welcome not only everyone in this room, but also everyone overseas watching us and being part of UKU days. And I find those days very interesting because they bring a lot of reflection. Look at Alexei, you know, such memories. Sometimes I think that a lot of business people should write some kind of memories, make some archives, because probably half of this audience you are already bored, but you know, with our stories, because this is not what you see in everyday life. So I was trying to think about a couple of lessons, how Ukrainian business was developing and what was on the agenda. So in the beginning, as Alexei said, if you were hungry, and most of people were hungry because plants were closed, you were starting business. You knew nothing about business, but you knew that there is some products being produced in Poland, abroad. You can bring them from Poland, and you just started trade, and this is how everything started. So lesson number one, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a little bit hungry. And that's what I say in 2021 to my class on entrepreneurial mindset as well, because this is when you really put an effort into your business. Second approach was that in approximately 2000s, people were watching what's happening in Poland, in Czech, in the Baltic states, and people in business were saying, okay, if this is happening in Poland, it will happen in Ukraine in like from 3 to 5 years, which means we should just copy what they do. And this is another lesson, because there are huge and powerful countries that developed, and you know which country I'm talking about, obviously China, which developed the whole business system on copying. And they didn't put too much effort into creativity, but they were just copying everything, and they became successful, powerful nation, and everybody wants to do business with China. One of businessmen, he was from south of Ukraine, he was selling to China. And in 2004, he was saying that I can sell to China only once, because as long as I sold to them, they will unpack it, unscrew it, and then they don't need me. But coming back to how this lesson relates to what Ukrainian companies were doing, people were looking what happens in Poland, how businesses are developing there, and they were copying it into Ukraine. And it was a successful business model at that time. I'm not sure it is a successful business model now, but still it is a business model. Then in 2007, there was so much money, and the economy was growing so quickly that I think people were in business buying everything what was possible to buy. But then 2008 came, and somehow to Ukraine it came later than to the rest of the world. And Ukrainian business people realized that financial crisis is coming to Ukraine a bit later. And then everything which was bought before became unnecessary, because a lot of things which you possessed, which you owned, they were not working for your business. They became from assets, they became liability of your business. And I think that was a period when very many companies learned that if you really want to do business, you have to invest into development of that business. You really have to focus there. And you cannot be relaxed, even if there are a lot of customers and a lot of money, because crisis can come, and you have to take care of your business. And I'm sure that was a lesson from 2008 crisis, which many companies learned. Two more lessons. One from 2014. I think this is the period when Ukrainian businesses realized that we cannot outsource many services which country should be, the state should be taking care of, because it's the kind of obligation of the responsibility of the state, but somehow state is not taking care of those things. And then business started to invest, because if you have business here, you have to invest into this country, you have to invest into your community, you have to invest into your army, you have to invest into your medicine, you have to invest into many, many things. And I would say that for the future, the question is that it's really good if business is responsible, but where is the this how to say it, border between how much business should do the role of the country and how much the state should really do its job. Because it's nice that we take care of many things, but we also pay taxes. So we already paid for those services. Well, the last lesson for business is from 2019, that the world is still global. Globalization is still there, and if the whole world becomes closed, you are part of this closed system. You are also quarantined, and you know, you have to be ready that your company might not be able to provide services for 20 months or for 15 months. And if you want your company to be successful, you have to think you have to really think about sustainability of your business. And not only for 1 or 2 or 3 months, this is short-term sustainability, but you really have to remember and work on resilience of your company. Not all industries survived. I think many industries changed, and this is another habit or attitude which was developed by very many organizations: adaptability and being flexible. So how to say it, as you can see, there were quite a lot of lessons which we learned in those 30 years. And I can agree with Alexei very easily that business right now, Ukrainian business, it's something completely different than it was even 10 years ago. And I think this is really good.
Yes, thank you. Maybe Ivan, you know,
Okay.
Sophia will tell us about some, you know, recent updates on business.
That's good. Thank you and welcome everyone. I'd say most of the things that I wanted to say, Sophia pointed out, so I'll try not to repeat. But it seems to me that I've been in some business, some big enterprises and some private business, and now I'm here with the university doing something completely different, more of a like contributing to education, which I'm very proud of. But it seems to me that we've been through all of these 30 years, something close like to how a child is being born and raised. So we've been through first years, maybe first 10 years, like a survival. So we tried to survive. I don't remember much of that. It was mostly about my parents and my first steps in some business. So I wasn't much into business, and those guys you were talking about, you had to deal with. But I remember my parents dealing with these guys. And yeah, it wasn't fun for them, obviously. So I remember just a bit of that. But then the child survived, and it was like, I don't know, for me it was like kind of replicating. So we started replicating best practices from abroad, from the United States, from Europe, obviously, and we started. And then the third period would be the maturity. So we started to mature. People would understand that they have the responsibilities. They have, as you said, they have to invest in their business. They have to feel responsible for their stuff, for their personnel. They are more independent. The world is more open, and they have to look for the opportunities, which we started to do now over the recent, whatever, 5 to 10 years. And if slowly to go to the education, I'm not, again, very much into education yet because I'm only like not even 3 years here, so I don't think I know enough. But as I'm working with young people, I understand that they're much more open than we were. Back at that time, they don't have this luggage and burden of dealing with these guys from the tax office and all the rest of the of those offices that we don't want to mention a lot or think about. So they are much more open. They see much more opportunities in this world. So I think this is like these 3 stages that I'd like to point out.
Yes, thank you, Ivan.
Can I just add
Sure,
one
sure.
important word, because I think that Sophia sitting from the another side of the picture, we forgetting about one important fact, which is I think started at the beginning of 20s. In the business, big desire for education, crazy desire for education. I still remember in the first visit of Adidas to Kiev, and the pricing, and it's all how the people were paying, and I see the face. I still remembering the faces of some businessmen. I will not name them, who were surprised. What he's talking about? You know, I paid $500, and he's talking about his wife. I'm not understanding. You know, so it was. But honestly, the biggest, I think, impact that after 10 years of how to say making business internally, the business found necessity for the education. And such necessity is still remain. I think it's one of the biggest, and for a lot of people, including me, it was like a, you know, returning to the childhood and to remembering the something, first steps in math, something like 2 + 2. Oh wow! So it was just like this reaction when we were studying first things in a business, and see that the most of our questions which we are asking already answered in a good business school, and this is desire for receiving of education. I think it's one of now a little bit forgetting things which we underestimated. Yet, yes, and this I think it's also was, and now we see absolutely another picture. So now you can find MBA people to the management of the companies, etc., etc. But at the beginning, and of course there was like all these pictures are white and black. So there was also a lot of people who were educated, as I was saying, finance for non-finance people. When the guy was coming and say, sorry, are there any financial educated people? Oh, thanks. So I can tell my story. You know, so just like there was like 2 pictures. Good for Ukraine, it's becoming less and less. So those people who educated strange things from poor dad and rich dad. So please don't read this book.
Please. Okay, Sophia, maybe we can start with you some, you know, new set of questions, and maybe you could share with us how you feel what has changed in the recent years in terms of running the business in Ukraine.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I'm also very proud to be here among our panel. So yeah, I'm 30 years old, and I feel like I'm, you know, that baby that was raised like for the last 30 years. I'm into startup like for the last 4 years. Before I was working for big big companies, and a lot has been changed. So I mean, in education, it's enormous, I think, like gap, because even when I was a student, I didn't have such availability like to have everything online, you know, any courses, Stanford, Harvard, like anything. Now you have this availability. You can just choose and you just go. The only thing is the like maybe laziness. I think is the only thing that can like stop any one of us. And you know, like being in a startup, we just learn every day. We are still like the students, and we just like, you know, you need to learn something in marketing. You just go search and learn and just try yourself, and then maybe you can ask some experts about like their thoughts and so on. So, I mean, for me, the main gap is just the availability of the information online and the availability of the experts, expert opinions, that nowadays you can find that like everywhere. It wasn't that like even I think 10 years ago. As for example, as I can see, my son now starting at school with Sophia's son as well, and like the difference is huge, you know. They're just learning how to be themselves. They're just learning like how they are taught, let's say, I don't know, how to develop their like internal skills, how to, I don't know, present themselves and so on, storytelling. And that wasn't in our schools. I believe like it wasn't in my school. And I think it's great. I think we are not far away from like US, you know. They are very good in storytelling. You know, we are pretty behind, but I feel that we are hungry. We are still hungry, and like we have lots of great entrepreneurs. We have like lots of strength, and that's everything new for us. Like if to compare to US, and I think it's great.
Thank you. By the way, I think I haven't mentioned that you are allowed to ask questions. Oh, you have already. May I ask one more, you know, from my side, and then I come back to you. Thank you. So my question would be, what do you think Ukrainian business can suggest to the world? As Sophia, you know, started this topic that probably we are not too far away, you know. We are learning so fast. We are still hungry. You know, what can we offer to the world? Who is ready? Well, if you're ready.
Okay. I think people, you know, since we have lots of like service companies, and all of our like employees, teammates, they are in Ukraine. It's a very great, I'd say, opportunity because the costs are lower, of course, but the minds are, I'd say, even better in some way. You know, to hire one just like middle person, middle expert in US, we can hire like a great expert in Ukraine who has already worked for US, European market, I don't know, China and so on, and has like such broad experience. And because we are a little bit underestimated, I think, you know, we still have this opportunity to just to propose that to the world. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Sophia, Alexei?
Well, maybe I will make my answer a little bit theoretical. Well, first of all, the world is different, and of course, we want to benchmark ourselves always for the best, for the most competitive nations and businesses, and that's really wonderful. But for example, we also have a faculty member who lived for a long time in Asia, and he is saying, why don't you look into Asia? Why don't you look into Southeast Asia? We can offer a lot there, and if we look into that side of the world, we definitely can offer much more creativity. And why did I mention about theoretical answer to the question? Because there is such a model by Geert Hofstede. He's Dutch, and he made a couple of dimensions by which you can compare two different nations. So you cannot compare yourself to the whole world, but for example, on power distance or on uncertainty avoidance, if you compare with very concrete state, with very concrete nation, in some cases we can be on winning, if I can say in that way. So so I totally agree with Sophia, but I also think that we need in some way to look at into parts of the world with which we don't have so much connection, or which we know much less, and learn about them. And I'm sure in that case the offer can be completely different.
Thank you.
You know, it's, this question is, I always say that this is two-bottle whiskey question to answer, to be honest. But Sophia
we
mentioned...
drink wine here, I mean.
Sorry of saying about whiskey in УКУ. But two things which I wanted to mention. First of course, Sophia mentioned creativity. Ukraine is a very creative nation. Comparing with all others, we were so long dedicated for survival that this gave us a big opportunity to become very creative in doing things, in helping, etc. Our customers saying about our city and about Ukraine, hidden gem. And I think it's just like, it's one side. Another side, we are very young. And this question is a question of the young people who wanted to, something like benchmarking, yes, especially for girls, who is more beautiful, who is better, who is clever, for men also, who is stronger. And this is important. We have in my company 2 genius developers who were just enemies for a long period. Then become very good friends and say, what changed? We were not able to determine who is more better developer. And now it's not important. And for me, I wanted, 10 years ago, we were, you'll come into any conference and Sophia will agree, we will always say, Lviv is the Silicon Valley of Ukraine. Now we stopped. Why? It's not important anymore. We have our market niche, we're understanding our strengths, and the only things which I think is still mistaken, Ukraine is have to become very proud Ukrainians. I think that we have this complex of non-sophisticated. We are always not underestimating ourselves. We are not satisfied with everything. We are always yelling, oh, this bad, this, everything is bad. Yes? And just like it's not allowing us to have a real picture. And real picture is absolutely another. In my opinion, the things which we have to become proud of what we are doing. In business and everything, we have to become proud of Ukraine. This helps us. We'll be proud. People will take in ourselves not as like the best service in the world, but will take us as the best engineers, best architectures, etc., etc. So I think we have to change attitude of our own thinking about ourselves. So to become just a little bit older. That's all. We are too young. So it's a disease which is I see when the kids are young. So let us become older, wiser, and prouder of what we are doing.
Thank you very much. We had a question from the audience. No, because we have, we have the cameras and we need the
hello
sound.
Everyone. And special, I have the question to Alexei because he's working with international market, etc. And what was the biggest challenge when you started to work with international market, not with Ukrainian companies? We already heard about that one, and this one and another one. When the IT companies from Ukraine will create their own product for international market, because it's complicated. We are like you said, like a service. People, the best engineers, the best architecture, etc. But it's like a 2 bottles whiskey discussion, But by the way, or 4, yeah. But by the way, I would like to heard your a prediction, because if we will have own product, just not only just raw material country, like the people from the world, they're thinking about like grains, beans, soybeans, outstaffing, outsourcing. That's okay, but I would like to know your opinion.
Thank you for the questions. First question is very easy to answer. The biggest challenge was and still it's culture difference. It's understanding of other cultures. This is just it's absolutely underestimated. I still remember we were working for a long period with Americans, and with America it's very easy business formula. Let's try. And under this formula it's just like a lot of, so it's like a big black box. And I remembering the Germans came into us, wanted to have business. First my visit, meeting with the Germans and say, let's try. And their reaction was, what do you mean, let's try? In Germany, let's try, meaning it has to be ready 10 a.m., 10 September. This is in Germany, let's try. No, now we're working with the Arabs. We're working with the, we're teaching Japanese how to be agile. It's really funny, you know, it's just like comparing with what Sophia is saying about the East. This is absolute alliance. They just like came somewhere. So Japan is so different from other, but they understanding and to see this absolutely vertical culture, which is so different. Arab countries, we always, you know, we're educated, you know, just like Muslims, enemies, etc., Al-Qaeda, everything is bad. And when now people asking me, Alex, what do we have to know about Arabic Americans? You know, you read in the childhood the tales of Scheherazade. Yes, this is not tales. This is the biggest secret. You know, for the other question. So, understanding of the cultures. First of all, it's interesting. Second, it's so funny. And this is a mistake which is our president is making with the raised legs in Arab world, which is absolutely awful, etc., etc. Believe me, he is not only making these mistakes. So just like, so it's, but these mistakes and these lessons, I think they are underestimated. We have to find a way how to make the level of culture understanding of the world much bigger. Mm-hmm. So it's still a lot of to do. And about the products, to make, not to take the whole audience time, I want to ask one of the most wealthiest men in Ukraine, whose EBITDA was at that time $372 million, and one simple question. If he knows with what money Elon Musk started his business with Tesla. And his answer was, I expect $2 billion. And when I told him that before taxation it was 180 million, he was surprised. And my next question was, why are you not spending to something technological? And with the emptiness in his eyes, I understood that the question was absolutely stupid. He was thinking absolutely about another things. He was not proud about the country. He was just like thinking of making money. There was not such a way to make the country more successful. He was thinking only about himself. He was greedy, and he was not eating too much, so he's still continuing to be greedy, you know. So he's not of the kind of businessman who is thinking about the future. And this is very sad. And this is very typical to Ukraine, to the big businesses. So to make the products, we already, the IT business, which is started, who is like 10, 20 years old, they making this money, receiving investment capital, and now starting only the products. So instead of other countries, the only source of the things which I see for the real investment, mostly, with rare exceptions, something like with Tihipko, or something like few people like him and her, with rare exception. Most of the investment into the products are doing by software companies who were previously doing the services. So that's why it's only started process because it's question of the money, availability of resources. And I know a lot of good ideas which is under development now in Ukraine in the product line. So it's only a question of the time now. But previously, it was question of absence of the people who were thinking globally. They were just like, you know, we have this earth we're doing, so we're making some money, but nothing else. Thank you. Thank you for the nice questions.
Thank you. We have one more question.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the great panel. Thanks for the great thoughts about Ukrainian business. My question is about maybe Ukrainian future. The question is to everybody: how can Ukraine to get to be among top 5 startup ecosystem in the world? And what should we do? What should to change in our minds? And yeah.
Thank you for this question. You know, it was on my list. Thank you for taking it. So, Sophia, Ivan, I guess you are the right people for the moment.
We can tell only ugly stories. We can tell a nice future.
Thank you for the question. I'll try not to be way too optimistic, although I'm a very optimistic person. Well, I don't think we have a chance to become a top 5. Another thing is I don't think it's a tragedy. I don't think so. We have a long way to go to catch up with most of the countries in the world. And again, this is a great challenge and we have to go that way. So when someone asks how can we become a next Silicon Valley, we don't have to become one. We just have to invest a lot, like Alexei said, and answering that question. Again, I agree 100% of that. This is only a question of time. And we don't see a lot of innovation among big enterprises which are not part of IT yet. We're trying to work with them at Center for Entrepreneurship, but we have a very hard time because it's a huge challenge. And the understanding of innovations by a lot of big companies is still like, how can you guarantee us that we're going to make more profit on innovations tomorrow? Better today in the evening before the whiskey bottles. It doesn't work like that, so we try to explain big companies that innovations take time and they take a lot of investment, and it's not days, it's not months, it's years. So this is all about what IT companies do is we make jokes of them that they produce slaves that work for United States, but I mean that was I guess true maybe 5 years ago, maybe. But not really anymore, because more and more products are being born of the IT companies. More and more of them are launching their own accelerators, innovative parks, and stuff like that, which will come to eventually to more and more products. So university, like this university, is among first ones, I guess, to launch programs which aim at raising entrepreneurial and global mindset among young people, which we still lack. So I guess we need more investment and contribution on the state level. We have just few projects in the country that invest in these very early pre-seed investment stages in startups. We need more of that. And again, with strong IT companies, with innovations that will slowly but surely, invade a country. I think with universities like Ukrainian Catholic University and programs that are being launched by this university and by some of the others, I think within the short period of time, we will get to a more rapid development of the startup ecosystem. And again, a huge deal is people like Sophia who are starting their own companies, and more often now they relocate to the United States or to Asia, but then again, most of them come back here and start their back offices or in front offices here, and these success stories will again lead, and they already do, to more and more startups emerge here and become more successful, and thus we as a country will move that direction of becoming a much more competitive country on the global this startup industry market. But yeah, I don't think we have to talk about being a top 5. Maybe someday. But this is a good benchmark. We have to aim for the best.
Thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. So I agree that it would be a really hard way for us to become among 5 of them, because we don't have such a big internal market. So we can't compare like Ukrainian market with US, Germany, I think Israel is there, and probably UK. It just for now it's uncomparable. But yes, I'm like the co-founder of the product and of a startup, and we have actually the product that is functioning in US market, and we were raising like money. Now we're like ready to raise the second round, and it doesn't need to be here like in Ukraine. So because to have like the funding, you need to have the venture capital like market. Frankly speaking, we don't have it in Ukraine. Everyone, as Ivan told, like is waiting for the profit, but it is not about the startup. You know, the aim of the startup and the venture capitalism, it just like the startup makes the exit, and then you have like the investor has 10x, 20x probably, or you do the IPO like in the best like occasion. And so far we have like 3 unicorns I think, like Grammarly, People AI, GitLab, and I think those are great example. So for me, frankly speaking, I think the more products we have, the more ex-employees then, you know, can just launch their own products. The same was with like Estonia and Skype. I think like, I don't know, like lots of their ex-employees then founded their own companies because they know how to do. I believe that like ex-Alex employees as well, like they launched their own projects or their own companies, like their service, for example, companies. And that's how it works. We need to have more better examples, and we need not to be scared like to go and to raise money in US, in UK, in Germany, I don't know, where we want to do that. But at the same time, we are still Ukrainians. We still have like teams here. We have remarkable people here. You know, we have even like the internal managers who talk to Americans, and they're here in Lviv, and they're just working for the night shifts, but they do like marvelous job, you know. And I mean that everything is possible, and we just need to try and then just go like and pursue your goals, and yeah, and everything would be great.
Thank you for this optimistic note.
Maybe I will add a little bit on attitudes and skills. I think we have a huge problem with ability to fail, and ability to fail fast, cheap, and learn from that. And that should be the, I don't know, attitude, skill, how can we call it? It should be both skill and attitude, which every Ukrainian needs to learn, even if you know it a little bit. We still have this, you know, we care what people think about us a lot, and we try to polish our idea before we share it, and after we share it's old already enough because nobody needs it. That's one thing. Another thing, it's networking. Well, you came today to this event, and I think it was worth spending the time here if you find here at least 3-4 new people you get to know. Otherwise, I don't know if it was worth coming and listening to our reflections here. You could actually do it online. Well, we appreciate a lot that you came, but I'm giving you one more tip, what you can take from this meeting. And I think we are really, this is about international business as well. I think we are far behind Europeans, North Americans, in our skills to interact, to socialize, to get to know people quickly, to share our thoughts, our ideas, and to get feedback, but also to listen to the feedback. I think the third thing we need to learn is how to talk to potential customers, and not do the startup because I like the idea and this is what I need. You are not the customer. If you want to do a startup, you are not the customer of that startup. You need to talk to real customers. And because we don't know how to network, we are scared to talk to customers.
I will try to be very quick. We are already living in a global society. So for startups, there's no such country as Ukraine, sorry. I mean, for the customers, so just a little bit. But try to think globally, first. Second, Sophia, do you know that there is no startups in Japan? Absolutely. Know why? There's no possibility to fall.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so it's just like interesting culture different fact. So, just not to be Japanese.
Probably in China as well, it's much harder because this saving phase in Asia is very important.
Yes. But in the third, don't talk about startups. Do that. A few years ago, one of my friends came to me because I just like sometimes changing minds of young generation. He asked, you know, my son wanted to go out of university, study. He's in the first form. He have to go to the lectures. Okay, say I will return him to the university. I talked with him for 2 hours and found that he knows about economy more than I, and he's even not started in the university, going to the university. And talking about startups, and he already, in his 16 years old, he already found one. So was already in the business. And said to father, if he will be not a millionaire when he will be 30 years old, I will add money to the rest of the sum, just because I will be very surprised if he will be not successful. And I don't want to talk, it's already existing very famous guy from Ukraine who is very successful, but very successful with his third startup. Don't be afraid to fail, just start, do business, and that's all. And don't look to this benchmarking on what we place 5th, 11th, 12th. It doesn't matter. You're living in the global world, global Ukrainians. So global world, global ideas. That's all. Just start.
Thank you. More questions from you? We can, yeah, sure.
So I would like to ask Sophia, because she is working in this education industry, let's be honest about this one, and everyone knows from your information and from sources that it started to be popular to get some knowledges, like MBA, etc., etc. But, you know, it's a popular just for the status, or it's a popular to have the practice and to realize on own businesses, etc. Because it's very important thing, you know, people come to study, get the knowledges, degrees, put that on a wall, and started to be proud. It's like it's working, and came back to the companies and, okay, it doesn't work, it's like it can be. It's okay, but I'm okay, I'm a businessman, and this is the point, etc. And must be realizing on a real cases and to transforming to the business. It's my opinion. How do you think so? Because you are more close with businessmen and you know that practices, etc.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would say that any education has relevance only if you really implement it. But if you do it, depends not only on the institution where you study, it depends much more on you. You come to class, you learn something, it's really nice, you have the huge collection of concepts, books, theories, but what do you do with that? And then you come back to your company and you have to take care of that, because instructor or faculty member can only suggest how you can do it, but you have to do it. And I think that the biggest problem is when people come to classes, they enjoy them. We sometimes say that sometimes our industry is not education, but becomes edutainment. Everybody has to enjoy it. You want to enjoy it, of course. You want to feel, how to say it, you want to feel both meaning, but also some excitement from how you spend time here. But then you come back to your office, and it's your job to think how you can work with your team and what will you do to implement all those great books, theories, concepts, and everything. And then it's a choice of every single person. We're joking with Roxolana because there is a request for strategic session, but I believe there is no need for strategic sessions indeed in companies. Any top manager can do himself or herself strategic session, but you of course have to put efforts into that. Of course, sometimes you can bring external people to avoid some pitfalls, but overall you can do it on your own. You even don't have to go for executive MBA or any other executive education program. You can gather a team in your company and you can start reading books and sharing reflections from those books during lunch, and this is a great learning process. It doesn't cost anything.
Ivan wants to add, yes, please. As an MBA graduate.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, because I joined LvBS Business School as it was opened by Sofia, and I was key executive MBA group number 1. So I have an opinion from a different side as well as a client back at that time. So I think what we have to learn from I think also the US market as the benchmark is to do our homework. So oftentimes we see people who come to get their MBA degree and say, okay, what can you give me? As you said, like, entertain me, yeah. Which is absolutely wrong, and that's not the way the, let's say, US market works with startups, because that's what I'm working with right now. So I think the most important thing is when you want to do when you want to get some education, let's say the MBA degree, you have to do your homework. So you have to go through the market, you have to see what kind of schools are there on the market, what are their programs. You have to find people who graduated from those schools, talk to them, and see whether that school shares the same values as you do. And if you go and you enter the school and you have only questions, then most probably you will graduate it with even more questions. So you have to have answers on those questions, like why do you need that, like 2 years of your life? And then most probably if you're mature enough and you know why would you need that kind of education, then most probably you will graduate with answers, and then you have to go and implement it.
Thank you. So now I have a question, if you allow me. So I want to refer back to the interview in Forbes, Alexei's interview I mentioned already. And so, Alexei, you told there, we work a lot and with a lot of accuracy for Ukraine. Like quietly, mostly silent, but we do a lot of work for Ukraine. And I believe this is the shift which we are seeing, that much more businesses really realize themselves as Ukrainian businesses, as really businesses which belong to certain community and which have to help the community also develop and raise. We've watched recently this Catholic church in Kyiv. I guess almost $1 million was raised in a few days after this fire, yes, to renovate the building, which is very important for the whole community, for the whole city. So, Alexei, my question would be, I just want you first to share what you do, because I don't think a lot of people know. I would like, now to have some more light on your projects for Ukraine. And the second question would be, can business save it all in this country?
One of the most important thoughts which I take from Catholic University, it was the sign, by quiet work, love Ukraine. Mm-hmm. For me, it's very important things, so just like as if I spent 5 years in the parliament, and after the parliament, it's a little bit crisis for me. I changed greatly in my mind, so just maybe one day I will tell the whole story. But for what I see in 2014, why go to the parliament first? Just important. I found myself that I'm more thinking about the war than about the business. And it was the time you know, and I'm very pragmatical guy, so I'm just like what I'm teaching my kids, for what you will run 100 meters for $100, you know, so just like very, very pragmatical, so calculating everything, economy, etc., etc., so just like, I found that I am absolutely useless to the company, maybe even to say that I'm doing wrong, because I stopped to become a normal cell, because I was thinking helping as a volunteer more to the war, and there was a decision why I gone to the parliament. And later, you know, it's the God always finding the place for you when you wanted this. So one day, we found that in our military recruitment points, военкомats, are taking people with one criteria: when your leg is size 43. And when I asked the Minister of Defense curiously, why? I say, you know, we have only boots of 33 size. That's why we can go with this, only with this. So, and for us it was, you know, like a blow. Okay, guys, something wrong. So we decided that we wanted to create the system, IT system, for the this военкомats, for these military points. We spent $500,000 for this, and it took us near 1 year. But we are still in process of implementing. So we already spent huge money, but our Ukrainian army, to say that it is slow is to say nothing. It's one of the things which is just like, for me, it's absolutely crazy. You know, even in the time of war. From one side, I can understand, because военкомats, they are these military things. There's one of the most corrupted places in Ukrainian army. But from the other side, it's a question of efficiency. It's a question of about what the army. So this was like a starting point. Later, there was a lot, just for your information, on our parade of, we have first time unmanned ground vehicles, UGV, small robotics tanks, and some of them were created in my company.
Ooh, wow.
And this is also a project where I am already stopped measuring by money. I'm measuring by the yachts. I'm saying that I already lost 2 yachts for yes, lost 2 yachts. I suppose to lost 3 more. And for me, it's just like an interesting point, because usually our generals are ready for the previous war. We even were ready for previous to the previous. So that's why I'm thinking a little bit in advance, because I'm understanding that sooner or later robots will be, so the Sarah Connor will be important, and but Terminator will be, in Russia spending a lot of money for this. Ukrainian, our military industry not understanding this. So that's why I'm a little bit thinking in advance for the future, understanding that sooner or later, better later, of course, or better never, but it will be necessary to have in Ukrainian army. So that's why I'm working in this direction, just because understanding of necessity. And I'm absolutely not advertising this. So for me, it's just like, it's a very hard question. So I don't want to go on to say, hey, I'm this guy who is doing this, due to a lot of reasons. So it's not only, also security is also important reason. But this is what I'm trying to help to Ukraine, taking this very important thoughts for me, by the quiet work, love Ukraine. So for me it's very important, you know, so just like, and don't want to put this on Facebook, advertising this a lot of, etc., just because this is just my understanding. Important notice, I know a lot of businessmen, a lot of common people who spend much more money for helping Ukrainian, maybe the right for creation of Ukrainian army. I will say a very rude things now, but maybe you will understand me. Thanks that we had war that allow Ukraine to receive army. Because before, we have no army. Just like the difference what we have now, we're criticizing, we already Butусов, etc., but it's absolutely different. Believe me, it's so different, unimaginary different. Maybe 100 times more, bigger, stronger, etc. So just like, it's also separate conversation, but just like, for me, I always say, thanks that you are able to be educated here, you're not understanding. Thanks to them, that you're not understanding what is the war.
Thank you for your work, and thank you for sharing this with us. It took us quite a while, you know, to reflect on this Ukrainian business and its role in the independence. So now I will use my position, you know, to ask the last question, not to keep you too long here. So I would ask you, we talked about past 30 years. What will you say about future 30 years? I know it's very complicated, maybe 10 years, you know, you can choose. But just, you know, to refer already to this number we have in the title of the of today's event, how do you think Ukrainian business will develop in the next 30 years and how it will look like? You know, anyone ready to start?
Yeah, okay, I'll do it. Well, I think this is one of the questions that we had from the audience. I think Ukraine is a very comfortable place to live, yeah, and the comfort of living is in terms of young, hungry people, in terms of cost of living, in terms of the culture that is here, and we're only getting familiar with it, and we're like growing on that. So, and because of working at a certain place is not anymore like so obligatory. I think this will become in the nearest future a even more comfortable place with all the services that we do have here. So I think with all the success stories, with businesses are being more aware of what is sustainability, responsibility, it will only get better. I mean, not perhaps as fast as we'd want it to, but still. And looking at those projects that we launch, well, I can say here at the university, I think those kids that have those opportunities that you were talking about, they have a great future. They have great opportunity to create their future. With the world being as open as it is now, with us having access to the money, worldwide opportunities, I think with all that comfort of living, we can create a great place that will, you know, grow, that will prosper. And I guess some of us who are, well, at least who don't want to be in the trend and want to live with all those past corporate cultures like the tax office guys, I think that will be just, you know, passive watchers who will just watch the world fast go by, and I don't think they have a place in. We have a lot of options, and those young kids, young people who are students now and study at school, they show us the way how to become successful with it.
Thank you, Svi.
So I believe and I hope that we'll have more and more products, we'll have more and more startups, we'll have like a lot more to show for the world. Moreover, I think that we'll be like more technologically savvy than any other developed country. The reason why, because they already have established businesses, established systems that were like established maybe 10, 20 years ago. And we are now doing that, you know, and now like the technology is really more developed than it was 10, 20 years ago. That's why we have a great banking systems. We have, you know, great probably different other things. And I believe that, for example, as well, the new constructions, the businesses are implementing more and more better solutions. Then we can see that even in US. I think that will be more like globally, I'd say, open-minded, and will be open like to the world, and more people in the world will know about us. For sure, we'll have like more unicorns in 10 and 30 years, and I believe in that. And I get that probably maybe someone of you will also like found it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sophia.
Well, I would like to see much more in this country on a personal level and on organizational level, something what we call growth mindset. We don't need to complain like many people and organizations do. We should not expect a lot. We should expect less, but we should deliver much more. And this growth mindset, I think this is the only solution for us. Otherwise, we will be stuck. And the worst thing is that if the rest of the world is moving and we are just stuck. You know, there is, I heard from Valery Pekar recently, he said that there are countries which are moving fast, there are countries which are moving slow, and we are just laying, no, there are countries which are moving fast in the right direction, there are countries which are moving slow in the right direction, and we are just laying in the right direction. So I don't want to be in a country which is laying in the right direction. Because if you lay, it doesn't, if you lay, it doesn't mean in which direction you do that. I want to move. And we have less time than you to move, so we should move smarter, and I hope we can do it. And those who are young, you should move much faster than we were able to do that. And if you think about our today's discussion, I think our 30 years, I think this is something which Ukraine went through in 30 years, what, for example, the United States went through in 100 or even more years, and some other countries. So we can move fast, but we have to do it even faster.
Honestly, I don't want to answer to this question, but Sophia quoted Valery Pekar. He's my friend, but I greatly disagree. I think that we're moving very fast. Just like it's problem of the system. When you're inside of the system, you not measure the right speed, especially taking consideration the difference where we were in the Soviet Union and where we were now. It's so huge distance. For a lot of people, of course, we all wanted to be in other place, for example, like in Poland or something. But just like 70 years of destroying, of killing entrepreneurial mindset, killing normal people, the hunger, to wars, etc., etc. So just like it's a little bit destroyed the genophond of genomic fund of our country. So from taking this in real situation, and I think that our speed is okay. Especially, we just need to, the only question for young generation, just to change their mind. Don't think about the past, thinking about the future. Because the things which I'm afraid is, I will now contradict to myself, but it's just when we start yelling, oh, it's so hard, oh, we have all these problems, oh, we forget about this. Just think how to make the future better. Thank you.
Thank you.
But you don't mind if we move faster. You don't mind.
I'm moving so fast, you know, you're unexpected. I wanted, of course we wanted to be faster. I'm just saying that not expect this from the very agrarian, very Soviet, still with Soviet minds country. So of course the best people wanted us to move big. Of course don't, Sophie. Of course I wanted to live in a better Ukraine, you know. So I don't want to change the country, you know, it's my country, that's all. So we agree.
So I'm sure, you know, we will, Sofia has more chances, we as well, to live in a better country than the one we wish for. So thank you for coming. Thank you very much, my dear panelists. It was a great pleasure to be here with you, to listen to you. We have some small presences usually. I think it's not that often now, so something fresh should be there. Thank you. Oh, even I got. Thank you very much. Thank you who joined us in this room. Thank you everybody who watched us online, and I hope to see you soon. If you have any questions to the panelists, you know, you have the privilege, those who are in the room, to come up and to ask privately. Also, you can ask them maybe online. Hope to see you soon. Bye.